So now we're in the last half of the last part of our lecture. So this time we're rounding up our discussion on eukaryotic agents against eukaryotes. So we have discussed antibiotics in the first half of this lecture. Now we're going to discuss, going to complete our discussion on the different antiparasitics. Antiparasitics, okay. So, as I've mentioned earlier, they could be divided between antiprotozoals and anthelmintics. There are also agents against ectoparasites, but I'm not going to discuss that anymore because our lecture is already too long. But okay, so I'm going to finish my discussion on antiprotozoals, and then in the next half of this lecture, I'm going to discuss anthelmintics. Okay, let's talk about protozoa. So as I have mentioned earlier, they are like the earliest forms of animals, unicellular animals. They are protists, right? Um, so they could be divided into four, the clinically relevant protozoa. First would be the apicomplexans. Yung division pala na to, yung apat na division na to, depende on how they move. Apicomplexans are non-motile, and that includes Plasmodium. So anti-malaria, discuss na natin sa previous lecture, right? Next would be um, ciliates. And sa ciliates kasi, isa lang naman yung known to cause disease among humans, and that is Balantidium coli. So ano lang natira? Dalawa na lang. Amoeba and flagellates. Amoeba and flagellates. So that's our division for this first half of our lecture. Drugs for amoebae and drugs for flagellates. Okay, let's start with the drugs for amoebas. Drugs for amoebiasis. Pag sinabing drug for amoebiasis, isa lang naman ang pinaka-important doon, and that is metronidazole. Okay? So, sa drugs for amoebiasis, dapat lang natin tandaan na dalawang sets lang naman yan. Metronidazole plus a luminal agent. So after my discussion on metronidazole, I'm going to talk about three types of luminal agents. So why are they called luminal agents? It's because it comes from the word lumen, meaning inside the membrane-bound organ, in this case the intestine, is because they only work inside the lumen. So they do not have any systemic effect. The one that has systemic effect is metronidazole, and that's what we're learning about today. See? So metronidazole is a nitroimidazole. It's just tropazole of Entamoeba histolytica. It effectively eradicates both intestinal and extraintestinal tissue infections. It's because Entamoeba histolytica causes a wide range of illnesses. Pwede asymptomatic. Pwede nagpapass lang sa stool. It could infect other individuals kapag merong fecal oral transmission. But yung patient themselves, walang symptoms. Pwedeng gamutin yon. Okay? On the other end of the spectrum, pwedeng nagkaroon ng anchovy paste na exudate. Or pwede rin magkaroon ng flask-shaped ulcers. Kumbaga, parang nagbaburrow na inside the intestinal wall. Yung yung amoeba histolytica. Okay? There's a derivative as well of metronidazole, and that is called tinidazole. It has a similar activity, but a better toxicity profile than metronidazole. It also offers simpler dosing regimens. What's the mechanism of action of metronidazole? It disrupts replication and transcription and also inhibits DNA repair. It's through free radical formation. Okay? Metronidazole is a drug of choice for these three conditions, and the mnemonic for them is GET, G-E-T. Giardiasis, caused by Giardia lamblia. Amoebiasis, caused by Entamoeba histolytica primarily. And trichomoniasis, caused by Trichomonas vaginalis. What are the side effects when you take metronidazole? You could have nausea, vomiting, dry mouth, or even a metallic taste in the mouth. It also causes a disulfiram-like effect. You remember still what's the mechanism of disulfiram? So ethanol gets converted to acetaldehyde, which then gets converted to acetaldehyde that gets converted to acetate. So what converts ethanol to acetaldehyde is alcohol dehydrogenase, while what converts acetaldehyde to acetate is aldehyde dehydrogenase. So the sulfiram inhibits the second enzyme or the latter enzyme, which is aldehyde dehydrogenase. This leads to accumulation of the acetaldehyde, which has toxic effects. Okay. Okay. It's also important to remember that metronidazole has to be used with caution among patients with CNS disease, and it's not to be used in pregnant women. Okay. So that's metronidazole. Now let's learn about the different luminal agents. First of which is iodoquinol, also known as diiodohydroxyquine. It's an effective luminal amebicide commonly used with metronidazole to treat amoebic infections. It is effective against organisms within the bowel lumen, but not against trophozoites that have found themselves in the intestinal wall or even in extraintestinal tissues. So for example, kapag meron ng amoebic abscess, um, or kaya naman mga flask-shaped ulcers, no? Mga ulcers, yun naman, hindi na mag-work yung luminal agent alone. Metronidazole has to be prescribed. What's the mechanism of action? It inactivates essential parasitic enzymes. Adverse effects include skin reactions, thyroid enlargement, and interference with thyroid function studies. Because it contains iodine, so you can have a false positively increased levels of thyroid hormones. All right. Next, you could also have headache and diarrhea. If the patient has any intolerance to iodine, for example, hyperthyroid patients, they could not be prescribed iodocquinol. Also, among patients with optic neuropathy, renal or thyroid disease, and non-amoebic hepatic disease, it has to be used with caution. Okay, so that's one luminal agent, iodocquinol. Another option would be diloxanide furoate. Diloxanide furoate is split into diloxanide and furoic acid in the gut. In other words, it's a prodrug. Clinically, it's the drug of choice for asymptomatic luminal infections. So, because iodoquinol, kanina nga, has many interactions, especially with iodine, or many problems when prescribing it, especially among patients who cannot tolerate iodine, the drug of choice is actually diloxanide furoate. It's used for the treatment of serious intestinal and extraintestinal infections. Adverse effects include flatulence, and it's also contraindicated in pregnancy. And the last luminal agent we're going to learn today for amoebiasis is paromomycin sulfate. Paromomycin sulfate is an aminoglycoside antibiotic, and you recognize it because there's mycin in the name, right? There's a suffix mycin. It's an effective luminal amebicide that appears to have similar efficacy and possibly less toxicity than other agents. Side effects, gastrointestinal as well, abdominal distress, and diarrhea. Also, it has to be used with caution with among patients with gastrointestinal ulceration because absorption may be increased, and also among patients with significant renal disease because it may accumulate. All right. So this table neatly summarizes the treatment of amoebiasis. For all cases, you give a luminal agent. The drug of choice is diloxanide furoate, but you may also give bromomycin. If the patient doesn't have any problems with iodine, you could give iodoquinol. However, for those with any symptoms, ranging from mild to severe to those with even hepatic abscesses or amoeboma, the drug of choice is metronidazole or tinidazole plus a luminal agent. So you use them in combination with each other. Right. Now we move on from amoeba to flagellates. What are the drugs that you could use for flagellates? So I've labeled it others, but actually they are mostly flagellates. So I'm going to cover Leishmania, Trypanosoma cruzi, and Brucei. Let's start with Leishmania. Leishmaniasis. Leishmaniasis is caused by Leishmania donovani, transmitted by the sandfly. Its clinical presentation ranges from mild cutaneous leishmaniasis up to Kala-Azar, no? Caused by infection of the reticuloendothelial system. And what's important to remember with leishmaniasis is that they are treated with antimony-based pharmacologic agents. Okay, antimony in the periodic table, what's the symbol for antimony? It's Sb, right? From the Latin stibium. So stibo also refers to antimony. And these are the two drugs that you need to learn about leishmaniasis. Sodium stibogluconate as well as meglumine antimonite, both of which are antimony-based agents. Okay? So what's their mechanism of action? They may increase the production of free radicals. These are trivalent antimonials, so antimony, Sb, 3 plus. They inhibit phosphofructokinase and organisms whose growth is dependent on the anaerobic metabolism of glucose. Clinical uses, they are first-line agents for both cutaneous and visceral leishmaniasis. However, they have adverse effects such as GI symptoms, fever, headache, myalgias, arthralgias, and rash. Also, they may cause ECG changes such as T-wave changes and QT prolongation. So just remember, for leishmania, antimony-based agents. Okay? From leishmaniasis, now let's talk about trypanosomiasis. There are two types of trypanosomal disease. Those caused by Trypanosoma brucei and those caused by Trypanosoma cruzi. Trypanosoma brucei causes African sleeping sickness, while Trypanosoma cruzi causes Chagas disease. So Trypanosoma brucei sa Africa, Chagas disease sa South America. Okay? So sa Trypanosoma brucei, dalawang gamot lang dapat tandaan. Suramine and Melarsoprol. Let's talk first about Suramine. Suramine binds firmly to host plasma proteins and the complex enters the trypanosome by endocytosis from where it is liberated by lysosomal proteases. It does not kill the parasite immediately, but it inhibits parasite enzymes, inducing gradual destruction of organelles. Ang use ng Suramine, dalawa. First-line therapy for early hemolymphatic African trypanosomiasis as well as chemoprophylaxis. Okay? Adverse effects include non-specific immediate reactions like fatigue, nausea, and vomiting, but late reactions include fever, rash, headache, paresthesias, neuropathies, renal abnormalities including proteinuria, chronic diarrhea, hemolytic anemia, and agranulocytosis. So that's Suramine. The other drug for Trypanosoma brucei is Melarsoprol. Melarsoprol is a trivalent arsenical. Pag arsenic, Melarsoprol, trypanosomiasis. Kapag antimony, stibogluconate, and meglumine antimonite, yun naman for leishmaniasis. Okay. So we're talking about Melarsoprol. The mechanism of action of Melarsoprol is that it binds to sulfhydryl groups in proteins, thereby affecting cellular structure and function. So, kung kanina, first-line therapy and chemoprophylaxis yung Suramine, ang Melarsoprol is for advanced African trypanosomiasis. Adverse effects, there are also non-specific immediate adverse effects, including abdominal pain and arthralgias, but the most important toxicity is what we call reactive encephalopathy. There are also other serious toxicities involving the kidneys, the heart, and hypersensitivity reactions as well. The Trypanosoma brucei, African sleeping sickness transmitted by the tsetse fly. Okay. This time we're going to talk about Trypanosoma cruzi, caused by the triatomine bug or the kissing bug. It causes Chagas disease. Hallmarks include megacolon and megaesophagus. So kapag Trypanosoma cruzi, dalawa lang din yan. Nifurtimox and benznidazole. Nifurtimox and benznidazole. Pero kung kanina yung Suramine and Melarsoprol, yung isa para sa chemoprophylaxis and early onset disease, yung Suramine, pero yung Melarsoprol sa mas severe, yung Nifurtimox and benznidazole, equivalent naman sila. Okay? Yung Nifurtimox, the mechanism of action is that it gets reduced to a neutron ion radical, which reacts with oxygen to produce superoxide and hydrogen peroxide. So these free radical metabolites in the absence of a parasite catalase and a peroxide deficiency could lead to lipid peroxidation and eventual cell damage. Okay? This production of activated oxygen results in toxicity to the protozoal cells. So in short, reactive oxygen species formation is the mechanism of action of Nifurtimox. It's the most commonly used drug for American trypanosomiasis. Adverse effects include nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, fever, rash, restlessness, insomnia, neuropathies, and seizures. The other drug for Trypanosoma cruzi or for Chagas disease is benznidazole. Benznidazole has a similar efficacy to Nifurtimox. Important toxicities include peripheral neuropathy, rash, GI symptoms, and myelosuppression. So this table summarizes the different organisms and the corresponding drug of choice. So pakibasa na lang iba, but ang emphasize ko lang here, for amoeba, di ba, it's metronidazole or tinidazole, and if it's mild disease up to the most severe disease, you need to have a luminal agent as well. Okay? For leishmaniasis, you need to have an antimony-based agent like sodium stibogluconate. Okay? For Trypanosoma brucei, you have Sirumine or Melarsoprol if it's more severe. Lastly, for Trypanosoma cruzi, it's either Nifurtimox or Benzimidazole. So that's it for the different protozoa, antiprotozoal agents. But now let's talk about antihelminthics. So there are three types of helminths: nematodes or roundworms, trematodes or flukes, and cestodes or tapeworms. Let's start first with the nematodes. These are the different antinematodal drugs. Albendazole, mebendazole, and thiabendazole are all different benzimidazoles. So they all belong to a single class of drugs. There's also diethylcarbamazine, ivermectin, pyrantel pamoate, and piperazine. So aside from albendazole, mebendazole, and thiabendazole, I would like you to remember kung para saan ng mga agents gumagana yung diethylcarbamazine, ivermectin, and pyrantel pamoate. So for example, yung diethylcarbamazine effective against lymphatic filariasis, so filarial diseases such as those caused by Wuchereria bancrofti and Brugia malayi. Effective din siya against loa-loa. Yung ivermectin naman is effective against Onchocerca volvulus, which causes river blindness, while pyrantel pamoate is effective against pinworm or Enterobus vermicularis, and um, another one is threadworm, no? Yan. Let's start by discussing the benzimidazoles. Again, there are three: albendazole, mebendazole, and thiabendazole. Their differences are in terms of structure. So, nandito na sa figure on the right. Let's start first with albendazole. Albendazole is taken orally, no, as a tablet or as a capsule. It appears to cause cytoplasmic microtubular degeneration, which in turn impairs vital processes and leads to parasite death. It inhibits helminth-specific ATP generation by fumarate reductase. Okay? Albendazole has active metabolites as well, sulfoxide and sulfone. In terms of contraindications, patients with known hypersensitivity to other benzimidazole should not take albendazole. So, for example, nag-react na siya before sa mebendazole, so meron siyang allergy. Hindi na siya dapat mag-take ng albendazole as well. So, there's cross-reactivity between them. Aside from that, those with cirrhosis should also avoid taking albendazole. It's also not given among pregnant women and children less than 5 years of age. Less than 2 years of age, I mean. Okay, so from albendazole, let's move now to mebendazole. Its mechanism of action is also similar to albendazole. It selectively binds to nematode tubulin. Also, it's given with caution to patients with cirrhosis, but similarly to albendazole, it's contraindicated for pregnant women and for children less than 2 years. As I have mentioned earlier, if there's any hypersensitivity to albendazole, you should not give mebendazole and vice versa. Albendazole is another oral drug. It inhibits fumarate reductase and electron transport associated phosphorylation in helminths. It binds selectively to the beta tubulin of nematodes, cestodes, and trematodes. In terms of adverse effects, patients may experience dizziness, anorexia, nausea, and vomiting. Again, contraindicated in pregnant women, and also if there is any presence of hepatic or renal disease. So those are the benzimidazoles. Now let's go to the ethylcarbamazine citrate, which is another drug given orally. So this time it's effective against filarial diseases. How does it work? It works by immobilizing microfilariae and altering their surface structure, displacing them from tissues and making them more susceptible to destruction by host defense mechanisms. It interferes with the metabolism of arachidonic acid and also blocks the production of prostaglandins. It increases the adherence of microfilariae to the vascular wall, platelets, and granulocytes, thus facilitating their removal. Right? The ethylcarbamazine has a metabolite, the ethylcarbamazine N oxide. It is not to be given, or it is just to be given with caution to patients with hypertension or renal disease. In terms of adverse effects, patients may experience fever, lymphadenopathy, cutaneous swelling, leukocytosis, and intensification of any pre-existing eosinophilia, edema, rashes, tachycardia, and headache, or ocular damage. Right. So we're done with benzimidazole and the ethylcarbamazine. Now let's go to ivermectin. Para saan nga ulit yung ivermectin? Binibigay for river blindness. Also given for strongyloides turcoralis. Ivermectin can be given both orally or subcutaneously. And actually, it's a mixture of ivermectin B1 alpha and ivermectin B1B. It's derived from the sol actinomyces streptomyces avermiculi. This is the structure of ivermectin. The mechanism of ivermectin involves flaccid paralysis. Basahin natin ha. Ivermectin acts on parasite-specific inhibitory glutamate-gated chloride channels. These are related phylogenetically to the vertebrate GABA-gated chloride channels. So yung kanila, kung sa atin pala, ang glutamate ay excitatory neurons, sa kanila, glutamate-gated chloride channels. So inhibitory sa kanila yung glutamate. So it causes hyperpolarization of the parasite cell membrane and muscle paralysis. So it's a form of flaccid paralysis, right? So at higher doses, it could actually potentiate GABA-gated chloride channels as well. In terms of side effects, it's important to learn about the term called Mazzotti reaction. Mazzotti reaction just refers to an inflammatory response that happens when there is rapid killing of microfilariae, for example, in response to ivermectin. So this is an inflammatory response to the dying microfilariae. So symptoms include fever, headache, dizziness, somnolence, rash, weakness, increased pruritus, diarrhea, joint and muscle pains, hypotension, tachycardia, lymphadenitis, lymphangitis, and peripheral edema. It's important to note, these are all immune reactions to the dying microfilariae. Contraindication, it's also contraindicated to pregnant women and children less than 5 years of age. Alright. So kung yung ivermectin para sa Strongyloides stercoralis at sa Onchocerca volvulus, ito namang next drug para sa Enterobis vermicularis or pinworm and hookworm or Acelastoma duodenale and Nicator americanus. Alright. Pyrantel pamoate is given orally. Oxantel pamoate is just an analog of pyrantel. In terms of mechanism of action, they are neuromuscular blocking agents that causes release of acetylcholine and inhibition of cholinesterase. So unlike those other agents that cause flaccid paralysis, pyrantel pamoate causes a form of spastic paralysis actually. Right? So shown in the figures at the bottom are the different structures of pyrantel and oxantel. They contraindicated for pregnant women and for children less than 1 years old. They are also to be used with caution among patients with liver dysfunction. And last, for the anthelmintics, we have piperazine. Piperazine is another orally given drug. It acts on the musculature of helminths to cause reversible flaccid paralysis mediated by chloride-dependent hyperpolarization of the muscle membrane. So similar siya in a way to ivermectin, right? It causes paralysis vascularis by blocking acetylcholine and the myoneural junction. Contraindications similar to other anthelmintics: pregnant women, patients with impaired renal or hepatic function, and patients with a history of epilepsy or chronic neurologic disease. Okay, now from anthelmintics, we're moving on now to trematodal agents. Anti-trematodal agents, specifically, they work on the flukes. So, apat yung nakalagay dito, di ba? Praziquantel, methionol, metrifonate, and oxamniquine. Isa-isa hindi natin siyang i-discuss. Pero what I would like you to remember is that the drug of choice among those four, iisa lang naman. Praziquantel. Okay? Praziquantel. So before we proceed further, let's quickly review the different flukes. You could remember flukes by remembering kung anong tissue yung affected. So for example, blood flukes, dun kasama yung schistosoma. Lung fluke, yun yung Paragonymous westermanii, a great mimic of tuberculosis. Ano pa? So, meron din diyang intestinal fluke, Pachyolopsis burski, and meron din liver flukes, Clonorchis sinensis, as well as Fasciola hepatica. So, those are the different types of flukes. But, yung mga lessons na yun ay for microbiology actually. Why? Or parasitology. It's because iisa lang din naman yung gamot nila either way. And that is praziquantel. Okay, praziquantel. What's the mechanism of action of praziquantel? It causes damage to the tegument. The tegument is the lining of the different flukes. So it increases the permeability of trematode and cestode cell membranes to calcium, resulting in paralysis, dislodgement, and death. This figure shows the structure of praziquantel. What are the various adverse effects associated with praziquantel? GI intolerance with nausea, vomiting, and abdominal discomfort. Also, it should be remembered that patients should not drive during therapy. Patients should also be warned regarding activities requiring physical coordination or alertness because it will cause drowsiness. What are some contraindications? It's not given for ocular cysticercosis, and again, for pregnant women and children less than 4. The dose should be adjusted for patients with severe hepatic disease. Okay, so praziquantel. So kung isa lang tatandaan, for cestodes and even trematodes actually, praziquantel lang naman yon. Another drug given for flukes is biothianol. Biothianol uncouples parasite-specific fumarate reductase-mediated oxidative phosphorylation. Adverse effect, skin rashes. It should be given with caution for children less than 8 years of age. Another drug is metryptonate. Metryptonate is an organophosphate compound, and from this, they're thinking that the mechanism may be related to the inhibition of cholinesterase, so it causes spastic paralysis. It also has an active metabolite called dichlorvos. It's contraindicated among pregnant women or those given with other agents that have a similar mechanism. For example, insecticide exposure, yung other cholinesterase inhibitors, or those given depolarizing neuromuscular blockers. Next drug, oxamniquine, it is also given orally. It stimulates parasite muscular activity at low concentrations, but at higher concentrations, it causes paralysis. It may act as well by esterifying and binding DNA, leading to the death of the schistosome by interruption of its nucleic acid and protein synthesis. Side effects: CNS symptoms such as dizziness, headache, and drowsiness, and because of that, you should prescribe it with caution among those who have work or activity requiring mental alertness. So those who are going to drive, those who are going to operate heavy machinery such as mga crane, no? So warehouse na work. And it should also be given with caution among patients with a history of epilepsy. This is also indicated as well for pregnant women. All right. So we're going at the tail end of our discussion. So tapos na tayo sa trematodes. Ang last na category ay cestodes or tapeworms. But I have good news for you because most of the anticestodal drugs here have already been discussed. Albendazole and mebendazole are benzimidazoles. Na-discuss natin siya under the anti-nematodal agents. While praziquantel, discuss natin siya under drugs against trematodes or flukes. So isa lang discuss natin, and that is niclosamide. Niclosamide is given orally. It inhibits the production of energy derived from anaerobic metabolism. It can also uncouple oxidative phosphorylation in mammalian mitochondria. It affects the scolex and proximal segments of cestodes, no? So parang doon sa part na kumakapit ng cestode doon sa intestine, yun yung maapektuhan. Okay? And contraindication, like many other anthelmintic agents, it's contraindicated among pregnant women and for children less than 2 years of age. And that's it for our very long lecture on antimicrobials. Thank you very much, everyone. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. Thank you very much.